Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. There's a few changelogs that have come out in the last few days and I thought we would cover them because there is a bunch of changes, mainly down to balance. The Coelian is finally going up, the Flakpanzer 341, and also a few other things are moving around too in terms of the ground stuff. So there's a huge update today, but there was also one yesterday which we're going to have a look at. Obviously, we also had the preparation for the EFE event, which is going to be starting very soon too. So make sure to get sorted for Thursday, because that's when that event starts. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. The first changelog is update 2.49.0.35, and this one came out yesterday. There was a few different changes. For aircraft, there was a bug that caused an incorrect mass calculation for aircraft that had internal machine guns and also cannons. This led to an incorrect increase in mass and worse maneuverability on some aircraft, including stuff like the Ariete and the DO-335. So this has been fixed. This was actually noted by somebody on Twitch when we were playing War Thunder the other day. Basically, they were saying the A-10 was just not flying properly. It was as if it was just a brick, and it seems like they have fixed that, which is really nice. Obviously, this is a huge issue when basically the vehicles that you're supposed to be using just don't work properly, and you don't really know why, but it's nice with the fact that they fixed it. This obviously affects stuff like the Ariete the most, because all it can do is rely on its maneuverability. For the Spitfire Mark 9 and also 9C, the thrust in maximum continuous power, or 100%, and the Merlin 61 engine has been increased. This is what we talked about the other day in the data mine. Basically, they have increased the power at 100%, but decreased the power of war emergency power. So it should kind of work itself out if you're doing war emergency power to about the same, but if you're just at 100, then it should be a bit better. For ground vehicles, for vehicles with blowout panels, a bug that still sometimes causes some crew members to not get knocked out by an ammunition fire with a breech bulkhead has been fixed, so they're still trying to fix the blowout panels to what they think it should be. Whether that is the case in real life or not, obviously it is up for debate. The M901, there was a bug that made it impossible to select the anti-aircraft machine gun. That's been fixed, so great, I suppose. It's not really going to change the vehicle too much. And then also the Tiger II 105cm KWK. Another change to a fake vehicle that Gaijin removed ages ago that only is available to veteran players, and guess what? The mass of the APHE shell has been increased from 15.9 to 16.9, so therefore it is better. Then locations and missions. Sinai, the part of the rocks in the mission, have been removed. So that's for air assault. We'll have to see how that affects everything. There was also an update today, update 2.49.0.38, and what ended up happening with this one is a bunch of different stuff. So first of all, the BMD 4M2, the battle rating in arcade battles, has been reduced from 9.7 to 9.3, which brings it in line with the other BMD 4s. They probably put it at 9.7 because in realistic it is 9.7, but they never actually moved it up in arcade, so maybe they just copied over the BR even though they shouldn't have. For the Flakpanzer 341, the BR is going from 6.3 to 7.0, so they are massively increasing its BR, which is, required. But as I've said previously, why the hell did they buff this thing? Why? What was the reason? Because you have a deadly concoction. You're taking a fake vehicle that is only available to people who played the game before a certain point, so new players cannot get access to it, which is horrific for matchmaking and horrific for balancing, by the way, because literally you have these people over here have this and you don't, so literally you can't do anything about it. You just have to fight it, and a lot of the people won't have even ever seen it before. And then also you put it at a BR which is very, very heavy in terms of the player base, so a very popular BR, and at the same time you add even more things in the last update to make it even more powerful. It seems like when it comes to APHE in general, it's got some mega buffs when it comes to the amount that it actually explodes inside of targets, and also you have, of course, some of the armor bugs that are going around, such as the one where supposedly if you are moving, whether forwards or backwards, it's just negating your armor. So if you move at all, you just get annihilated. It's just wild to see, and I actually saw it more recently where a T-32E1 was frontally penned by a Flakpanzer 341 through the upper glacis, and it's just like, what the hell is happening here? And yeah, it's because of the kind of mess which is going on right now. So in that sense, they should probably fix that before, you know, they start doing BR changes. But also at the same time, why the hell are you changing these things in the first place? The Kugel Blitz, the battle racing in all modes, has been decreased from 7.0 to 6.7. So I'm guessing that one isn't doing as good randomly compared to it. I don't really know why that's the case. They're probably trying to still have a 6.7 AA. Because if you don't know, at 7.0, Germany doesn't have a lineup. There is actually nothing there. You only have the Battle Pass vehicle, the SPZ 12.3 LDS, and also, well, what used to be the Kugel Blitz. Now the Kugel Blitz is moving to 6.7, so that mega 6.7 lineup for Germany has an AA. By the way, the Kugel Blitz also has a HVAP belt. So that can pen up to 77 millimeters, because why not? Let's just keep giving these AAs more and more damage. What's even more hilarious is when they remove the Coelian, now that it's at 7.0, the vehicle that they added in to replace it as a standard replacement was the Ostwind 2, which is at 5.3. So that kind of shows you how ridiculous it is that these vehicles were added as comparables to the ones that they removed. The Kugel Blitz is much more similar to the Coelian than the others. So just very weird how that's kind of gone. The Tiger II, the NR150, this is the Tiger II-P. The turret front material has been changed from rolled homogeneous armor to cast homogeneous armor. The constant turret front thickness indication has been removed, as this part now has volumetric armor, and the commander's cupola is now divided into two parts, the cupola and the hatch, which hopefully means it'll be harder to overpressure. We'll have to see though, as always, especially with all the donkey guns wandering around. The T-58, there was a bug that prevented the commander from taking control of the gun. When the gunner was knocked out, that has been fixed. Oh really? I didn't know I had commander controls. So that's good that it has commander controls. So that makes it a little bit better. Obviously, they removed the random artillery that it had previously, so I'm glad that that's fixed now. The Leopard 2 PSO, the tank weight without the dozer modification installed has been reduced from 67 to 64 tons, so you'll be a little bit quicker. Remember, the Leopard 2 PSO, even though it's a heavier vehicle because of the additional armor, it also gets a boosted engine, so its mobility is actually comparable to the other Leopard 2s. So if you don't add the dozer, it's actually pretty maneuverable. The T-64s, the 72s and 80s, the thickness of the internal part of the front of the cannon breech has been set to 45 millimeters, so I don't know whether that's up or down compared to what it was before, but those guns were always very annoying to actually break compared to many others. There is also a problem in the game right now where you have a lot of vehicles with autocannons which just annihilate guns super quickly if you miss a shot, and it's incredibly annoying when that happens. The Magak 6M, there was a bug where the dozer blade modification didn't increase the tank's weight. That's been a common thing with a lot of these general vehicles. The Excelsior, the thickness of the armor plate covering the exhaust has been increased from 50.8 to 76.2 millimeters. I wish they brought back the Excelsior. I think the Excelsior is a really fun little vehicle, but yeah, it's just one of those which never really actually ends up anywhere because it's just one of those really rare old event vehicles. Basically, the Excelsior is like a fat Cromwell, is the way to put it. It's not a great vehicle. It doesn't really work very well, but it just looks cool, and I hope they bring it back in events. The BMR Plot T, the turret armor thickness has been adjusted in the stat card, so it hasn't actually been adjusted, just what it says in the card. The 2S6, the 2S6M1 modification, now when that's installed, the engine power is increased from 780 to 840, so it isn't just an increase in kind of the armament area, it's now an increase in the mobility area. So the Tunguska gets a buff. I generally think the Tunguska is a weird one. I always feel like for a vehicle, it's one of those that actually works really well, but it's always been a step below in BR where it kind of should be, and I wonder if that's because of the targeting optic on it, or the targeting radar is just not very good compared to other ones. Like the Chieftain Marksman has a similar issue where if you're targeting anything above like 2 kilometers, it just sways and moves and just makes it very hard to hit things. The M55s, there was a bug in the X-ray where all shells were designated as charges and all charges as shells. That's been fixed, so they were just the wrong way around. The SDKFC 2342, the maximum horizontal aiming speed has been increased from 14 degrees to 25 degrees per second, so that's quite a nice little buff for the Puma. Puma's super fun to play, by the way, super mobile, very good scout. There's a reason why it went up in BR a bunch of times. The MX50 Sublinder, the thickness of the radiator grills covered with metal plates has been increased from 5mm to 10mm, and the CV90-120, the tank weight has been increased from 27.7 tons to 35 tons. Jesus, that's quite a big change. The CV90-120 is a very fun vehicle. I'm going to be spading it fully pretty soon, but it's one of those which I honestly feel has just been incredibly fun to play over the years. So if you haven't played it, you should give it a go. The locations and missions, there's a bug that caused some trees to not get destroyed by autocannon fire. That's been fixed. Obviously, that's positive. There was a bug that caused the visual weapon selector to display the loadout from the previous spawns when using a backup aircraft, and that's been fixed too, so that's great. The Vampire FB5 and the Meteor F Mark III, there's a bug that prevented the creation of user skins, so that's been fixed for those vehicles. And the CV90-105 TML, a quadricolor deforming camouflage, has been added, which is wonderful. There is also another thing about the CV90-105 TML. They brought it back, right? But I honestly feel like they've brought it back exactly a copy-paste of what it was when it left, apart from obviously losing the stabilizer. But the thing is, they forgot to add a mechanic to it, which all of the vehicles have at that BR. It doesn't have access to the Scout UAV. So just like how the T-58 randomly got artillery, the CV90-105 lacks the Scout mechanic, and any vehicle which is a light tank above rank 6, or sorry, at rank 6 and above, gets access to it. And then there was another vehicle, the Sheridan, which, you know, they swapped with the XM800T, right? And the XM800T, they gave it the Scout UAV, but they forgot to remove it from the Sheridan. But now it is removed from the Sheridan. So that's just another one where they've just kind of forgot about what mechanics are supposed to go where, and it's just really odd. For sounds, the impact sounds of 28 to 38mm caliber shells hitting various materials, wood, stone, ground, have received new corresponding sound tails. The final reverb of echo sound to impact the impact creates. So that should be interesting to see. They also, the impact sounds for 28 to 38mm calibers hitting water now have the sound of a larger splash. Previously, they had the splash sounds of a rifle caliber bullet, so it should be a little bit louder once again. So overall, a pretty good update. Some balance fixes, some general vehicle fixes, and also, you know, some little fixes here and there. There's still a long way to go to make sure that this update is working properly, but it's a lot better condition than it has been in the past compared to other updates. Let me know if you have any issues with the game right now, so I can pass them on and help out. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.